What's that sound? It's For Amusement Only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast. Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Tonight I wanted to talk about a Bally bingo from 1966. It's Bally's Zodiac. Now, Zodiac was a Mystic Lines bingo, and it's been a while since we've talked about one of those, but for those who don't recall, it is one of the 20-hole bingo playfields that allows for repositioning columns of numbers. Because there are only 20 holes, it's a 5 by 4 grid of numbers. And those numbers allow for the first two columns of 4 numbers to swap places. The middle column moves up and down 3 positions, and the right 2 columns will swap positions. Now that's only if you have the Mystic Lines feature lit. And remember that it can light only 1 at a time, or 2 at a time, or all 3 at a time, and it's based on the randomization units inside the machine. So if the machine ticks all the way up to C, then you're able to reposition all the numbers. But if it only ticks up to A, you're only able to move that center column of numbers. B allows you to move the leftmost 2 columns, and C allows you to move the rightmost 2 columns. So, just something to keep in mind, because every game is different. So this game had quadruple deck scoring, and the odds maxed out at 600 for 5 in a section. In a Mystic Lines game, or a 20-hole game, you have colored sections instead of colored lines. And so the numbers that make up that section are not the same as they would be on a 25-hole bingo. And of course they're not the same anyway because there's only 20 holes. This game has an extended time tree, which gives you the possibility of earning the ability to shoot your ball and move the Mystic Lines either before 4th, before 5th, or even after 5th. And it has the typical star rollovers that allow you to jump 1 position in the time tree. So if by default it lights before 4th, which it does by default, and it lights the yellow star rollover, if you manage to hit that with your ball, then it'll light before 5th. Now if you do it on your 5th ball, it doesn't matter. You're still out of luck. But in a better scenario, if you light the red star rollover and hit that, it will light after 5th, and then you're able to reposition all the numbers even after your last ball is shot. Now, I've talked at length about my 20-hole game Double Up, and how you're able to double or quadruple your odds in any one color based on what the machine gives you and player control. On Zodiac, you have the ability to double or triple your odds in any one color. This was not under player control and was in fact awarded randomly. Now, it continued to have the popular numbers in all 4 star zones score either 300 or 600 replays, and of course the skill that it takes to do this is greatly reduced over, say, getting all 4 corners on a typical 25-hole bingo, because you're able to reposition those columns of numbers. Now, the numbers that make up those star zones are purely in B and C. There's 2 in each. And so that means if, for example, you get 15 and 14, which are the 2 star zones in the B columns, then you're all set there. But if you get 14 and 1, you can push B and put the 1 in 15, but it'll also move the 14 into 16's position to the right, and therefore 16 is still not lit. So you do still have to make your numbers. I'm not saying that it's just going to give it to you and it's no big deal, but what I am telling you is that it's a little easier, in my opinion, to get all 4 numbers lit in the star zones than it is to get all 4 corners in a typical 25-hole bingo. So, this game also continued the tradition of having the red letter game, which, if you'll recall, will light up one letter in the name of the game in red, and based on the instruction card down at the bottom of the game, it will tell you that you'll earn guaranteed odds and features if you put 3 balls in any star zones or just 2 balls in any of the star zones. Now, in order to start a red letter game, after you shoot your 4th ball, if you've met the criteria, you just hold down the R button and all the balls will drop and the game will tick up to whatever predetermined amount is shown on the score and instruction cards for that letter. Now at that point you can continue to feed in money to try to increase your odds or features. So let's say that you get the Z game in Zodiac. That's going to give you a very basic game with one set of odds increased much higher than the rest. At this point you can continue to feed in nickels until you're at a point that you feel comfortable that you're going to win a lot of replays. Or you can just play it. Now, one important thing to remember about bingos is that once they get past a certain interval on the odds, especially in the red, then it becomes much harder for the game to award you any increases in odds or features. It'll still happen. It's just going to take more money to do it than it would if you didn't have that lit all the way, up to, say, 144. So remember, your goal is to get 5 in a section. But on a Mystic Lines game, that star zone, there's one in each colored section, is a complete ripoff. Unless you have either the numbers lit in all 4 star zones feature or the red letter feature lit, then that star zone number doesn't count unless you have all of the rest of the numbers lit in that particular color. So let's take yellow as an example, and let's leave the numbers in their default position. You have 4, 11, 5, 3, and 15. Now 4, 11, 5, and 3 are in the yellow, and 15 is the star zone number. If you were to get 11, 5, and 15, you do not have a 3 in a section winner, because 15 is the star zone. If you were to get 11, 5, and 3, you do have a 3 in a section winner. If at that point you get 15, it still doesn't count. If you get 11, 5, 3, and 4, you get a 4 in a section winner, but the only way to get 5 in a section is to get that star zone number, and remember, it doesn't count unless you have all the rest lit in that section. It's pretty rough, isn't it? I think so too. So, what I find very challenging is to get more than 4 in a section winner. And this is after playing the game for many hours. I am not an expert bingo player by any stretch of the imagination, but I like to think that I can make a hit every once in a while. And it is incredibly rare for me to get a 5 in a section winner. And part of that's due to the different playfield layout compared to the 25-hole bingos. So there's some different action that happens on the playfield versus the 25-hole games. But part of it's just because those star zones are pretty brutal. You tend to get them when you absolutely don't need them, and then you tend to never be able to get them when you do need them. At least I don't. So, this game has the extra ball feature. You can bet for up to 3 extra balls. Remember, this is locked into the same odds thresholds that you're advancing in the odds is. And so, it's very easy to spend a lot of money to get an extra ball, especially between balls 1 and 2, and even more so between 2 and 3. Now this game has pick-a-play, and that means that there are 3 buttons on the front of the cabinet that you can use to coin up at the beginning of the game. You push your red button and drop in your first nickel, and it'll reset the game. At that point you can choose, do you want to play for odds, do you want to play for features, or do you want to play for both? Now if you push the blue button, it will give you a guaranteed double odds jump. So it'll advance all of the odds for all 4 colors 2 jumps with a single blue button press. After that point, the odds jumps are awarded randomly. The green button gives you a higher chance at earning the features, the mystic lines, the all 4 star zones, and the red letter feature, along with the doubled or tripled scores in any one color. But that comes at a price. There's no guarantee of advancing odds. Now the red button will kind of play equally for both. And so, as I've mentioned many times, part of the skill of the game is knowing when to play for which button. Now let's talk about artwork. This game has a mysticism or astrology theme, and the artwork is pretty great, although I'm not exactly sure what it's representing. Up at the top you have Zodiac, which are your red letters, by Bally. And in the center you have a medallion that shows all of the signs of the Zodiac. And underneath is a flowing cape with yellow stars on a field of red. Up above this medallion is a green curtain with stars, the moon, and other planets represented. And everybody knows how much I love curtains. In the background, you have a variety of figures who appear to be at some kind of wizard school. I'm sure there's a story to this, but I'm not, as I said, quite sure what's going on. You've got people studying the Zodiac. You have a variety of the people at this school, or wherever they're at, holding balls that represent signs of the Zodiac. And it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of detail in this illustration. One person is looking through a telescope up towards the bingo card. One person is climbing the stairs. Another person is using a compass to chart out the stars. Someone else is reading a scroll with the signs of the Zodiac. And then there is a stereotypical wizard-looking guy. Just about exactly what you picture when I say that. There's a lady with really long blonde hair holding one of the signs of the Zodiac. And then there are a couple people just milling about. Now, there are some palm fronds floating around as well. Now, the cabinet. The cabinet has a white base with a really cool stencil. It's essentially a pointy representation of the signs of the Zodiac. Now, the signs themselves are the animals or what have you in white on a field of red in a circle. And then there are 2 points, two lines, which come together in a point and form what's sort of a compass shape. And the lines themselves are silver. Very, very attractive. The playfield is mostly greens and reds. And there's another representation of that medallion with the Zodiac up at the top of the playfield. And there are a couple of ladies on the left and right who appear to be a couple of the same ladies who are on the backglass, but in different positions and staring at each other from across a field where they're not doing that on the backglass. Some of the signs of the Zodiac are written out on what appears to be a ribbon that traces through portions of the playfield. And then the holes themselves are shown in a descending arrow towards the ball return with alternating triangles in red showing the numbers. It's a very attractive playfield. I like it quite a bit. Now, because you can triple the odds, the max payout on this game is 1,800 replays. That's a lot of nickels. Now, one interesting note about this game is that it only shipped with the 5-cent option. Apparently, Bally didn't allow for the dime or quarter conversions, which they'd allowed since almost the beginning of the bingo era. That's kind of an interesting little footnote that I found on Phil Hooper's site, bingo.cdyn.com. Well, thank you very much for listening. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at Bingo Podcast, or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.